What's going on, everybody? This is Daniel Namdar and this is Diamond Talk. Today on Diamond Talk, I want to discuss GIA and GIA reports. The GIA is the Gemological Institute of America, and they grade diamonds, providing them with a report that lists all the diamond's characteristics from color, clarity, symmetry, fluorescence, dimensions, etc. I wanted to speak about two of the four C's, color and clarity, today, and explain that the GIA is everything, but not everything. The GIA provides a universally accepted standard for what the diamond is. If the GIA says this diamond is an H color, it's an H color. Without the GIA, there'd be total chaos. People wouldn't know what they're buying, there'd be a ton of misrepresentation, so people need to be looking at a GIA report before they're buying their diamond. The only thing is that sometimes people take the GIA report too seriously. For example, you might have a diamond that has an Si2 clarity, and Si2 is overall on the lower end of clarity. The clarity goes from flawless to VVS clarities, VS clarities, and SI, and each of the categories have a 1 or 2 grade. The 2 is a little bit worse than the 1. But Si2s come in all different shapes and sizes. For example, you could see an Si2 here that has little inclusions, imperfection in the stone. And this stone, the Si2, is tiny dots spread out. Now the GIA doesn't care where the inclusion is, if the inclusion is bunched together. They see how much of the diamond has inclusion, and that's how they give the grading. Now this diamond, for example, has little tiny inclusions all spread out. So this is something that when you look at it, you don't see the inclusion at all. It could be a very beautiful and lively diamond, but it's an Si2. But even a diamond dealer without a loop might say it looks like a nice VS1. For example, a diamond might have an inclusion that's on the side, and when it's put in a ring, you don't even see it. Another good value Si2. But sometimes, for example, the inclusion can be all bunched up together and can be a big black blob in the center. A very distracting blob that even looking at the diamond with just your eyes and no loop, you see the big black blob staring at you, and this is very undesirable. Now in general, if you're going to be buying a VVS 1 Plus, you're not going to see anything, but the only thing is those diamonds command much higher premium than an Si1 or Si2, so sometimes it could be a great value purchase to get a stone that has a lower inclusion, but you have to make sure you're buying the right one. Now I wanted to speak about diamond color. So what I'm about to illustrate is much more clear with color diamonds than it is with white diamonds. So color diamonds are graded on a scale of fancy light to fancy intense to fancy vivid, which is the GIA saying how much saturation of color the diamond has. And within these fancy to fancy intense and vivid, etc., there are different colors. There's fancy yellow, fancy brownish yellow, there's fancy blue, fancy pink, all different colors. And we're talking about natural diamonds here. Now, if you take here, for example, this is a stone the GIA gave a fancy intense yellow grading. If you look at it, this has what people in the industry call a very sweet lemon color, a nice lemon yellow. But if you look at this stone, on the other hand, which the GIA also gave an intense yellow, has a bit of a brownish tint and doesn't have that juicy lemon yellow color that people want. Now, just looking at the cert, you would never know such a difference, because the truth is they both have an intense saturation and they're yellow, and not enough brown for it to be called a brownish yellow, so the GIA just calls it a fancy intense yellow. The only problem is the GIA cert doesn't tell the whole story. It doesn't say that one stone is a beautiful, desirable color and the other is dull. Let's look at another case where the GIA gave two stones the same grading of fancy pink. This first stone is a beautiful bubblegum fancy pink color. Bubblegum is actually a pretty commonly used term by diamond dealers when discussing pink diamonds. Full of life, beautiful, bright pink color, and the GIA gave it a fancy pink. The second stone, on the other hand, also got a fancy pink GIA grading, but it has a bit of a more dull, dark color, not sweet, bright, and lively, not something you'd call bubblegum pink. And again, just looking at the cert, you'd never know. The GIA calls them the same exact thing, but you have to use your own eyes and determine for yourself what you like, or use a jeweler you trust to get you value, to get you a beautiful color. Lastly, we'll look at two blues. Both graded fancy blue. The first one is a beautiful, bright, gorgeous blue color, ocean blue, something everyone would want to own. And on the other hand, we have a blue diamond that also has a grading of fancy blue, but has a little bit more of a dull color. Still blue, still fancy blue, but it doesn't have that same life and that same pop that you want. These are just some examples of cases where the GIA can give two stones the same grading, but they're worlds apart. So the GIA really is everything. We need them, but it's not the only thing you should look at. And when you're buying a diamond, you need to see it in person and know what you're getting, and buy from someone you trust. Thank you so much for watching.